Hello and welcome to this A-Level Chemistry exam question walkthrough. The question is available through a link in the description, and this means that if you want to, you can download the question and have a go at it yourself before you watch this video. My recommendation is that you aim to give yourself a minute per mark. During this video, I'll be modelling my thinking out loud and annotating the question, mostly in red and blue, and then the answers that will get you the marks will be shown in purple. If you find parts of this question difficult, you could always check out my explanation video about this topic by using the master links document available in the description. This question is about vanadium. And we've been given a table showing an electrochemical series, which is where you have a series of half equations written in order of their electropotential values, and those electropotential values get smaller as we go down the table. Use the data in the table to explain why zinc reduces an aqueous solution of VO2 1+ ions to V2+ ions, but does not reduce it any further. Well, first of all, the electropotential value indicates the potential of a particular chemical to gain electrons, and a larger electropotential value means that that chemical is a better electron acceptor, so a better oxidizing agent. And this means when we're considering pairs of half equations, the one with the larger electropotential will go in the forwards direction, gaining electrons, and the one with the smaller electropotential will go in the backwards direction, losing electrons. It's worth noting that the electropotential for the zinc half equation is smaller than most of those electropotentials for the vanadium half equations. Looking more specifically, we're starting with zinc solid and with VO2 1+ aqueous. Zinc is minus 0.76, so this reaction will go in the backwards direction because that electropotential is smaller than +1 for the top vanadium half equation. Then, with vanadium and a lot of transition metals, we have to look further at other half equations. The VO2+ can also be reduced to V3+ because that electropotential is still greater than minus 0.76. And then the V3+ appears as a reactant in the next half equation, and that electropotential is still larger than minus 0.76. But then the V2+ cannot get reduced to V because of that difference in electropotential values. And so, in terms of structuring our answers, we can clearly see that the zinc can reduce vanadium most of the way. So that means that the crucial part of this question is, why can zinc reduce vanadium from 3+ to 2+, but not from 2+ to 0? And so this is where a direct comparison of specific electropotential values is key. And so for the first mark, we need to say that the vanadium 3+ electropotential is larger than the electropotential for the zinc half equation. And this is why it can reduce the vanadium 3+ to 2+. But the electropotential for V2+ is smaller than the electropotential for zinc 2+, and so that's why it can't reduce the V2+ to V. This would get us the 2 marks for this question, but we can also justify this with EMF values, and the zinc reduction of V3+ to V2+ would have an EMF which is the difference between those electropotential values. And so we do the EMF is equal to the electropotential of the reduction half equation minus the electropotential of the oxidation half equation. And so that means we've got minus 0.26 minus 0.76, which gives us an EMF of plus 0.5 volts for the reaction that does happen. But the EMF for the hypothetical reaction of V2+ reacting with Zn would be a negative value. And this is because the half equation that I'm showing here in blue is having to go in the forwards direction, in the direction of reduction, and the zinc is having to go in the backwards direction. And so the EMF would be minus 1.2 minus 0.76. And so this leaves us with a negative value of minus 0.44 volts. And when we have an EMF that is negative, this reaction wouldn't happen. In fact, the reverse reaction would happen if appropriate chemicals were mixed together. And so we could answer this in terms of the difference in their electropotentials, or we could express it mathematically in what that difference in electropotentials actually is, which is the EMF value. Part B says that we need to identify the species in the table that can reduce an aqueous solution of VO2 1+ to vanadium. Well, the V2+ turning into vanadium is the second smallest electropotential of them all. And so that means that we can only reduce the V2+ to vanadium using the reducing agent from the half equation that has the smallest electropotential value. And the magnesium half equation has the smallest electropotential value. Remember, the reducing agents are always shown on the right-hand side of each half equation, and so that means that magnesium is the greatest reducing agent shown in this table, and it would be capable of reducing vanadium from VO2 1+ all the way down to V0 because its electropotential is the smallest. Two half cells involving aqueous iron 2+ and aqueous VO2+ are connected. Calculate the EMF of this cell, give the conventional representation for this cell, and give a half equation for the reaction that occurs at the negative electrode. Well, the two half cells that they've directed us towards are this one here for the VO2+ and this one for the Fe2+. It's worth looking at the electropotential values these each have. The vanadium half equation has a larger electropotential, so a larger potential to gain electrons. So this will be the half equation that goes in the forward direction, involving the gaining of electrons. The iron half equation then has the smaller electropotential, the smaller potential to gain electrons, and therefore the greater potential to lose electrons. And so this will be the half equation that goes in the oxidation direction, where electrons are lost. When we calculate the EMF of the cell, we always use the electropotential of the reduction half equation minus the electropotential of the oxidation half equation, or more simply, the half equation with the larger electropotential value minus the half equation with the smaller value. So this is 0.34 minus 0.44, which gives us an EMF of 0.78 volts. When we move on to the cell representation, there are always a sequence of steps that you need to follow. First of all, we add the salt bridge as a double line in approximately where the middle will be. And then the two half equations go either side of this salt bridge, with the smaller electropotential half equation going on the left and the larger going on the right. And so for us, the iron is the smaller, that will be going on the left, and the vanadium is the larger, so that will be going on the right. And then we always write it in the same way, with the reducing agent being on the outsides of these two half cells and the oxidizing agent being on the inside. And don't forget, the oxidizing agents are always shown on the left in an electrochemical series because they are the thing gaining electrons, turning into the reducing agent, which is shown on the right-hand side. And so that means that we need to have the iron solid on the outside, that's the reducing agent, and the aqueous iron 2+ on the inside closest to the salt bridge. For the vanadium half equation, the oxidizing agent is VO2+, and so that means that this should go on the inside closest to the salt bridge. Also on the reactants for that half equation are hydrogen ions, and so it's a good idea to include those hydrogen ions in the conventional representation of the cell. On the right-hand side of that half equation, we have the V3+, and so that goes on the outside of the cell representation. We don't normally need to include the water unless that is directly involved in the redox, which it isn't here. The next thing that we need to do is to separate our oxidizing agents and reducing agents. If they have different physical states, we separate them with a vertical solid line. If they're in the same state, we separate them with a comma. Iron is a solid, iron 2+ is aqueous, so a solid line is appropriate here. For the vanadium half equation, all of the crucial chemicals are aqueous, so we separate them all with commas. And then the final thing that we need to do is check that both sides have a solid metal. This is important because both half equations need some method of transferring electrons between the half cell and the external circuit. The iron half cell has solid iron, so that is absolutely fine, but the vanadium half equation doesn't have a solid metal. And so we need to add platinum to the outside of the conventional cell representation. The platinum will be a solid, so it gets separated from the V3+ with a vertical line. And finally, give a half equation for the reaction occurring at the negative electrode. Well, the negative electrode is the one with the smaller electrode potential value, so iron, and we've already established that that half equation is going to go backwards. If we've forgotten this, we can also remember that when we write the conventional cell representation properly, the thing on the left of each half is converted into the thing on the right of each half. So again, we can see that the solid iron is being converted into iron 2+. And so all we need to do to finish this equation off is to add those 2 electrons in. But we can get this from the electrochemical series we've been given. Literally, we're just writing the reverse of the iron half equation. Part D is a multi-step calculation based on a method. When answering a question like this, I always recommend that you sketch diagrams to help you be clear about what's happening in each stage. We're told that 0.151 grams of impure ammonium vanadate is added to dilute sulfuric acid to form a solution containing VO2 1+ ions. And we're told that all of the VO3 1- ions are converted into VO2 1+ ions. And that means that there must be an excess of sulfuric acid. And it's also worth noting at this stage that both of those two chemicals have the same number of vanadium atoms in, so the moles of one will be equal to the moles of the other. We're then told that these VO2 1+ ions are reduced to aqueous V2+ ions by reaction with an excess of zinc. And we're given an equation for this process. The relevant ratios are likely to be the VO2 1+ has a 2, the zinc has a 3, and the V2+ has a 2. And then we're told that the excess of zinc is removed by filtration and washed. The filtrate, so that's the solution that came through the filter funnel, containing the V2+ ions, is titrated with a 0.02 moles per decimeter cubed solution of acidified potassium manganate 7. We're told that 29.43 cm³ of KMnO₄ solution are needed to oxidize all of the V2+ ions to VO2 1+ ions. And now it becomes clear why we filtered out the zinc excess, because zinc is a really good reducing agent. It would definitely be involved in the redox titration in some way, most likely reacting with the MnO4- ions. We're given the ionic equation for the reaction of MnO4- with V2+, and we can see that they react in a 3:5 ratio. Our command is to calculate the percentage purity of ammonium vanadate and give the answer to 3 significant figures. The first thing that we need to do is calculate the moles of the MnO4- ions. It's a solution, so we do this by doing concentration multiplied by volume. So 0.02 multiplied by 29.43 needs to be divided by 1,000 to get that into dm³, and this gets us 5.886 times 10 to the minus 4 moles for the first marking point. The next stage will be to work out the moles of V2+ that those ions reacted with, and this is where the mole ratio comes in. V2+ has a 5, the MnO4- has a 3, and so to go from the 5.886 times 10 to the minus 4 moles of MnO4-, we need to multiply it by 5 and then divide by 3 to get 9.81 times 10 to the minus 4 moles of V2+. Ultimately, we're working out the purity of the ammonium vanadate, so that's the VO3 1- ions. Now here we can note that the moles of V2+ will be equal to the moles of VO2 1+, which will be equal to the moles of VO3 1-, because there is one vanadium in each of these formulae. And so the moles of VO3 is 9.81 times 10 to the minus 4 then. And this is the moles of the ammonium vanadate. And so ultimately, to calculate the percentage purity, we're going to need to do the pure divided by the impure multiplied by 100. I'm going to use mass values, so I need to find out the mass of the ammonium vanadate. And so to do this, we do MR multiplied by moles, and the MR is 116.9, and so we multiply that by our moles, and we get a value of 0.11468 grams as our pure mass of the ammonium vanadate. So to work out percentage purity, we take that number and we divide it by the impure mass of 0.151, we multiply it by 100, and we get 75.947%. We've been commanded to express this to three significant figures, and so this rounds to 75.9 to three significant figures. Depending on how you rounded your answers in the earlier working out stages, your answer might be larger than this, and so to accommodate for that, they're likely to accept an answer all the way up to something like 76.2%. If you prefer, you could have done the percentage purity calculation using mole values, so that would have been the pure moles calculated in M2, and then for your M3 you would have had to calculate the impure moles of ammonium vanadate and use mole values in your percentage purity calculation, and you would of course have got the same percentage. So either method is fine, whichever one you're more comfortable using.